Live Fit Podcast, episode 84. It's all in your head, the psychology of eating with Marc David.
And as it turns out, 98 to 99% of all humans who go on a weight loss diet and a weight loss program gain the weight back within a year or less these days. They come back a week or two later and say, yeah, I know what you told me to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. I just couldn't do it. And that was yet another revelation. I realized, my goodness, I can hurl tons of nutrition facts at another human being, but if I don't start to understand the mind and the heart and the soul, i.e. the psychology of the eater, then my work is not complete. We have to understand human psychology. We have to understand how the mind works. Most people think that I'm me. I'm this guy that I call me. And in reality, we have many different characters inside us. We have many different personas.
Welcome to the Live Fit Podcast with Glenn Johnson, your resource for all things that contribute to good health. You will hear expert advice and interviews with leading authorities on fitness, food, fat loss, mindset, and the mind-body connection. You will find show notes, articles, and health programs at livefitpodcast.com.
Yes, it is time once again for the Live Fit Podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Johnson. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is episode 84. Today, I'm speaking with the founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, Marc David. He is a leading visionary, teacher, and consultant in nutritional psychology. He's the author of the classic and best-selling books, Nourishing Wisdom and the Slowdown Diet, which have been translated into over 10 languages. His fresh, inspiring, and innovative messages about food, body, and soul appeal to a wide audience of eaters who are ready for a new approach. Marc's teaching organization, the Institute of the Psychology of Eating, is the world's only online school dedicated to a progressive, positive, holistic understanding of eating psychology and nutrition. Unique and revolutionary in its approach, the Institute teaches students and professionals how to effectively work with the most common and compelling eating challenges of our times in their internationally acclaimed eating psychology programs. Let's hear what Marc has to say. Hello, Marc. How are you doing today?
Glenn, I am doing great. Thanks for having me here.
So where are you calling from?
I am speaking to you from a beautiful place called Boulder, Colorado. More technically, I'm in a small town called Niwot, and it's got such a gorgeous view of the Colorado Rocky Mountains. I'm a lucky guy.
Wow, that sounds great. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and we are having one of those magical weather days right now. It's sunny and green and crisp and clean, and just the air is such a treat to breathe. Every time I take a breath, I smile.
Yay, good for you.
It's fantastic. So I wanted to talk with you today because you are the founder of the Psychology of Eating, correct?
Mm-hmm. The Institute for the Psychology of Eating, absolutely.
I would really like to know how you got to be where you are now. What led you to found this institute?
You know, Glenn, thanks for asking that. I truly believe that oftentimes necessity is indeed the mother of invention. So really, I think it started in infancy. I was born sickly, asthmatic, allergic, immunocompromised, almost died a handful of times in infancy. You know, this was back in the 60s. My parents took me from doctor to doctor. Nothing worked. I was frustrated. And around the age of 5, this is kind of shocking, but I'd heard a rumor that fruits and vegetables were good for you.
No way.
And I was raised on a generation of everything artificial and synthetic.
Holy cow.
I didn't eat anything real. So I asked my mother to buy apples and peas and carrots in a can because that was my concept of fruits and vegetables. Coincidence or not, my health started to change after a few months. And, you know, honestly, from a very young age, I had this magical experience that A, I have some power, even though I'm a little sickly kid, and B, food impacts my health and my well-being. That was a revelation. And from those moments, I was a fanatic then and learned everything I could about nutrition, studied it in school, went on to become a clinical nutritionist. And over the years, what I started to notice very early on, because there was a point in the 1980s, you could read every book and every textbook on nutrition. There just wasn't a lot. And I got to the point, I would see clients. I used to have a practice on Wall Street in New York City, and I was working with some of the smartest, most motivated people on planet Earth, and I would tell them what to do and what to eat so they could lose weight or help their digestion. They'd come back a week or two later and say, yeah, I know what you told me to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. I just couldn't do it. And that was yet another revelation. I realized, my goodness, I can hurl tons of nutrition facts at another human being, but if I don't start to understand the mind and the heart and the soul, i.e. the psychology of the eater, then my work is not complete. So that put me on a path to learn eating psychology. And I'm not talking about eating disorders. I mean, in eating psychology for everyone, for you, for me, for every person you know who overeats, who binge eats, who wants to lose some weight, who emotionally has challenges around food, who has body image concerns. So that's what led me to this place of realizing that this was a huge missing piece in the nutrition conversation. Because if you're interested in nutrition, then you have to understand your mind, because it's going to be motivating you and inspiring you or blocking you in all kinds of different ways. That's the short answer, my friend.
Wow, that was amazing. I have so many follow-up questions based on what you just said right there, and I think it's fantastic. First, I want to just say that your beginnings into this path of your career and life sound very synonymous to Jack LaLanne's. Mm-hmm. He grew up as, for those of you that don't know, he grew up as a major sugar junkie, and he was a sickly kid. He was a teenager and just feeling sickly and weak and lousy, and I believe he went to a nutrition lecture in Berkeley, and it literally changed his life. Quite literally, and because of that, changed many other people's lives as well. So, do you see anything like that on the horizon for you as far as changing the world?
Well, what's fascinating is, since the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, since our work went online, and that was, about 8-9 years ago, maybe, we have exploded. So just across all of our social media platforms, we probably reach at least 1 million people that we know of who are, signed up on our email lists and our just on our Facebook pages, Instagram, you name it. So we're reaching a ton of people with our message. So I'm a happy guy in that regards.
That is fantastic. That's very inspirational. And, this has been a kind of a pet interest of mine for many, many years, as I'm a personal trainer, and like 90% of the time my clients want to lose quote unquote weight. And that's one of the things I coach them on. And, over the years and years, I've noticed, well, yeah, you can give them good advice. You can talk to them about things, set a schedule, set a plan, set goals, and just do everything perfect. And they still don't follow through. And that's what has come to my attention and realization, is that it really is in the mind. It starts from the mind. I've had many guests on my show that have changed their life simply because they changed their mind. They changed their health because they changed their attitude.
Bingo. And oftentimes that is ground zero. That's where the action is. Because, there can be all kinds of people who come to you and say, I want to lose weight. And normally what we're taught on the topic of weight, for example, is that the royal road to weight loss is calories in, calories out. Another way of saying that is to eat less and exercise more. And the reality is, we've been getting that message from the experts since the 1960s. And as it turns out, 98 to 99% of all humans who go on a weight loss diet and a weight loss program gain the weight back within a year or less these days, and then some. So something's not working. And I think the thing that's not working oftentimes is what is in the way, what's going inside me, inside my psyche, inside my mind, inside my beliefs that are toxic, that's holding me back, that's sending me in the wrong direction. So I love dissecting that with people.
I do too. And, a lot of times it's funny because I teach health and and physical education at community college level. And a lot of times I'll have a student come up to me and they'll say, now, I heard that weight loss is 90% nutrition, or they might have some other number, but they heard some sort of number that is supposed to balance nutrition versus activity. How much activity should I do versus how much focus should I put into my eating? And I always tell them, it's not as clean cut as that. It depends on the person. Depends on what you're currently eating, what you're currently doing. Like some people are maxed out on their physical activity. They're working out 2 hours a day, every single day. Well, I'm not going to say that they need to work out more. That's simply not true. But I'm really kind of the mind that neither of those matter nearly as much as your attitude. And I'm wondering, do you have an idea, or do you have a kind of a ratio of how much of it comes from the mind? I mean, I might even just, my uneducated self might even say it's 100% mental. What would you say?
You know, Glenn, I love the question. I usually won't think in those terms, but what I will say is this, that I would put mind and emotions as number one on the list, meaning I want to look at that place first and foremost. Of course, I want to look at a person's nutrition. Of course, I want to look at their activity, exercise, movement. But first and foremost, unless I understand who they are and where they're coming from and what they're thinking and what is motivating them or pushing them or inspiring them, until I understand that, then I could have all the nutrition information and exercise information, but nothing's going to work. Let me give you an example. I had many years ago, a woman came to see me, and she was running marathons. She was eating about 1,200 calories a day, and she was training for marathons. So this is a woman who's running 5-6 miles per day. She's running 12 to 16 miles on the weekends. And she can't lose a single pound, and she has 40 pounds to lose. Now, she has gone to every level of medical intervention that a human can possibly have, and she's got the cleanest bill of health. So according to all of scientific and nutritional reality, this woman who is running her brains out and starving herself, she should be losing at least a pound or two, let alone the 40 that she truly has to lose. And everybody's stumped. And actually, the doctor that sent me to her said to me, I think she's lying. I think she must be eating a ton of food. So anyway, I start to talk to this woman, and what I began to see was that she was a human who was living in a major amount of stress and fear. Her job was killing her. She was the breadwinner in her family. She was raising 2 kids at the same time of, working in an investment company, long hours during the week, and she was hating herself for her body weight. And what our work became, I told her, I actually need you to eat more food. I need you to eat more healthy fat. I need you to eat more healthy protein. Why? Because you're signaling your body that it's in starvation mode, which is going to slow down metabolism. Next, we have to help get you to a place where you begin to lose some of the stress and the anxiety that you're pumping through your system, because that translates into stress chemistry. It translates into extra insulin, extra cortisol, both of which, when you're artificially elevating them day in, day out, will signal the body to store weight and store fat and not build muscle. And what's fascinating was we worked together for a number of months, and the woman transformed by eating more food, healthy fat and protein. I actually took her off, believe it or not, of intense running because she couldn't stand it. She hated it.
Oh, jeez.
She wasn't running because I love running. I love to move my body. I love exercise. She was running because she hated her body and she hated body fat. I actually put her on dance classes and yoga and Pilates, which she said she likes. I wanted to know what you enjoy.
Yes.
So she was technically doing less calorie burning exercise. All of a sudden, she was lit up. She was having a good time, and the weight came off.
That's amazing. That's exactly the kind of thing that I try to express to my clients. And it's really amazing at how resistant they are to that. Eat more, exercise less. It just goes counter to what they've been taught for maybe their entire life.
Well, Glenn, I think you just identify it. That's the resistance, because that's what we've been taught since junior high school. And it sounds like it's smart. It sounds like it works. And it gets drilled to us. We don't even realize how that gets drilled in through the media, through just the word calorie, through hearing about things like Weight Watchers and diet soda and diet Coke this and diet Pepsi that. So we're constantly thinking in those terms, but it's only a tiny, tiny portion of the story.
Yeah, it really is. And it's, I still kind of, halfway chuckle, halfway beat my head against a wall when somebody, in their early 20s heard from their cousin or from a post in Facebook, something that's completely untrue. And here I am living my life for this type of knowledge and finding the truth and reading scientific journals and experimenting and just living health and fitness and weight management, all that stuff. And they will not believe what I have to say. It's frustrating.
I think, Glenn, part of it is that people want quick fixes. We have been conditioned for a quick fix. Buy the lottery ticket and you can quick fix your income if you win. Or here's the magic pill, or here's the magic diet, or here's the one magic exercise that's going to give you overnight, buns of steel or whatever it is. and we don't want to do the work. No. And sometimes the work is outer work, meaning, I got to get to the gym. I got to move my body. For a lot of us, there's work in there, and that's okay. But there's also personal work. There's also inner work. And if you're going to get lazy around the inner work, then you're not going to get the results that you want. So really what I'm trying to say, Glenn, is I think we're living in a time when we can no longer ignore the fact that who we are as people, who you are, who I am as a human being, that's impacting the rest of my life. It's going to impact my relationship with food, my diet, my physiology, my eating habits. So we have to be willing to look in the mirror, and I will, how can I say it? I will spank my clients. I will let them know in no uncertain terms what I just said to you. And I will tell them, listen, if you want to get where you want to go, you have to step up. You have to step up in your own personal development. And if not, you're going to continue to get the exact same results, which is being where you are right now.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't that just drive you crazy when they do the same thing over and over and hope for different results?
We're very conditionable creatures in that way. We are very Pavlovian. We will keep expecting the same response over and over and over and over again, even though it never comes to us. And that's where personal development comes in. We have to be able to self-reflect and look in the mirror and say, I've been dieting for 20 years and it hasn't worked, and I still haven't lost weight sustainably. I'm still unhappy. I'm still miserable. Maybe I should change my strategy. So a lot of times we need help. We need coaching. We need a mentor. We need a guide. We need the right book. We need the right person. We need something to kind of jiggle the handle on our understanding so we can start to go down a different road, a new road.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree. And many, many years ago, I read a book called Emotional Eating, written by Dr. Ed Abramson. And he was one of the first guests I had on my podcast. It was back in episode 8. And we're on, this one's going to be, what are we looking at? Episode 84 is the one you're on right now. And so it's been quite a while, but I still abide by what he has. And one of the reasons I wanted him on the show is because it just seems so clear that the mind leads the body, and so many people eat emotionally, and emotionally can be happy or sad. I have young kids, and what happens when they go to a birthday party? They eat what?
Cake and sugar.
Cake and liquid sugar, and that kind of. I'm really concerned about the long-term effects of that, not because of the immediate damage the sugar does, but because the psychological attachment they have to that sort of food. And so when I had Dr. Abramson on here, I wanted to find out what he had to say about emotional eating. How much do you deal with the emotional side of it? Not just getting in the right mindset and changing the attitude, but just dealing with emotions, either good, bad, or ugly, whichever they are.
Oh, in a big way. And I tend to put mind and emotions into the same bucket because oftentimes one is driving the other. Oftentimes our emotions will drive our beliefs and our thoughts. Oftentimes the thoughts and the beliefs that we have will lead us down certain emotional tunnels. So I am always trying to understand the emotionality, what is driving a human being. As an example, there are many people who, when you look at them on paper, they're doing the right exercise, they're eating really healthy food, they have a really great lifestyle. And on paper, then you would go, wow, you're doing all the right things. But they're still not losing weight, or they still maybe even did lose the weight. They might even have the body that they wanted because they created it through diet and exercise, but they're literally unhappy. And every time they look in the mirror, even though they weigh exactly what they want and they've reached their goal, they still hate themselves. This is very common. And what's happening, I call these people false positives, meaning their outer form has changed, but the inner experience called, I disapprove of myself. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable as I am. There's that, it's this complex of thoughts and emotions that are driving us so that even when we get the goal that we want, we're still not happy. And that's when we really have to examine ourselves. I also know people who are doing the best exercise and eating the greatest foods, but they're motivating themselves out of fear. Oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm going to get fat.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm never going to find love. I'm never going to find a girl. I'm never going to find a guy, whatever it is. So on paper, again, they have good behaviors, but what's motivating them is fear, is insecurity. And if that's what your journey is, then that's what the destination is going to be. If the road is filled with self-hate, self-attack, self-judgment, or I'm not enough, then how could your destination be one of happiness and self-love? So I'm always looking to help people begin whatever journey they're on with food or weight, is to start that journey from a place of relaxing into it, to start that journey from a place of understanding, yeah, I have my goals, but I am going to appreciate myself into this experience. I'm going to love myself into this experience. I'm going to cheerlead myself into this new exercise program, into this new way of eating, as opposed to beat myself up along the way. Because if you're beating yourself up along the way, it's a silly strategy, quite frankly.
Well, our country here, United States, was founded off of just people's distaste for tyrants. And a lot of people kind of rule themselves like tyrants. They're bullies, they're dictators, they're tyrants, and they're making themselves like the example you gave of the woman doing the long, hard runs and, really basically abusing yourself trying to get a certain result. And we both know this is not the way to go for a long-term result. If you're an athlete and that's what it takes to get you to be better than your competition, sure, as a temporary measure, but not as a lifetime.
So true. And it's so true that we don't like tyrants, and yet we can become that for self. And it really points to the place in us where we have to understand human psychology. We have to understand how the mind works. Most people think that I'm me. I'm this guy that I call me. And in reality, we have many different characters inside us. We have many different personas. So if you have kids, you happen to be a dad. And that's a certain persona. But if you're, a fitness expert, and then you have that persona in you. If you're a husband, then you have your husband persona. You're a friend, you have that persona. You're a son of somebody, so you have that persona. You also have the scientist in you. You might have the little kid in you. You might have the party guy in you. So my point is, we have many different personas, and in any given situation, one of those personas is at the head of the table. So when you come home from work and you're with your kids, probably daddy persona takes over. That's a good thing. What happens is a lot of people, their inner critic tends to rule the roost. It tends to sit at the head of the table whenever we eat. Or our rebel. might sit at the head of the table whenever we eat. And we have to begin to notice what is driving us, what is moving us. And from there, we can make successful adjustments. But we have to understand, wow, who's eating right now? Well, it's me sitting down eating this meal. But is it the fearful person in me that's afraid that I'm going to gain weight and hate myself forever? Is the person eating this meal the adult, the king, the queen in me who's sitting down and I'm confident and I'm embodied and I'm in my power and I'm not going to be, talking to myself with, just nonsense insults. It's a beautiful way to look at the psyche because it's very effective. It helps people understand themselves better.
That is fascinating. It makes me wonder, how do you work with people? Do they come see you in person? Is it an online thing or phone, or how are you able to really help the majority of your clients?
Well, for one, I don't really see clients anymore because for the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, that's my full-time job times 5 where I'm, developing our programs and teaching. So we basically train practitioners, we train coaches, we train healers, counselors to do this work. And once you learn the protocols and the skills, in our practitioner training, it's an 8-month online training, and you learn how to work with weight and overeating and binge eating and emotional eating and the mind-body dimensions of, health issues like digestion, mood, fatigue, immunity, etc. So it's really then learning to ask the right questions. It's learning to have the right distinctions, to understand the mind, to understand the fundamentals of eating psychology, but also understand the fundamentals of how mind impacts physiology. So it's not just, on the one hand, it's nutrition and science, and on the other hand, it's pure psychology. Sort of, yes, but the point is the two are constantly intermixing with each other, meaning this, if I'm in a relaxation response when I eat, I am technically in the optimum state of digestion, assimilation, and day in, day out calorie burning. That's how humans are designed. Mm-hmm. We are designed to eat a meal in parasympathetic nervous system dominance, relaxation response. We are not designed to eat a meal in sympathetic nervous system dominance or stress response. It's just how we're hardwired. So when humans are constantly in a state of stress because either I'm talking negative self-talk, I'm hating my body, and I'm eating at the same time, or I'm eating while I'm rushing, which is a stressor for the body, or I'm eating while I'm sitting at my desk and my boss is mad at me, that's stressful. So I'm changing my nutritional physiology. I am literally causing nutrient excretion. I am literally causing digestive upset by what's happening in my mind. So the short answer to your question is learning the psychology, learning the science, and learning the places where they overlap. And then you get out there and you practice on humans and you learn to work with them and ask the right questions and also hear beneath their answers, because a lot of times what people tell you and what they're really wanting to say is two different things.
Oh yeah, definitely. So if somebody's listening to this and they have been struggling with their weight for many years and they decide, okay, maybe it's time I start working on my mind, what would be their best next step to find somebody to help them?
There's a number of places to start. If you want to go with a practitioner, I'd recommend one of our trained practitioners because I train them. If you go to psychologyofeating.com, that's our website. We have a portal. We have a link there where you can find a practitioner. So that's a great place. We have a directory and you can look at their pictures. You can look at their specialty. You can look at their website. You can email them and chit chat and find out if it's a good match for you. So our directory on psychologyofeating.com, that's a great place to start.
Uh-huh.
To educate yourself. My most recent book, The Slow Down Diet, is a great, distillation of a lot of the work that we do, particularly around the mind-body aspects of nutrition and how thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and emotions impact nutritional metabolism. The Slow Down Diet's a very readable book. It's been a bestseller for 10 years. And, also on our website, we have a ton of free resources, for goodness sakes. We have a video channel on YouTube with tons of free videos. We're constantly posting things on Facebook. We have written blogs that are really great. You can learn a ton just from there and start to understand a whole different way to work with yourself.
Right. I know if you sign up for your newsletter that you get a bunch of videos from that, and that's very helpful. It can help send you down the right path.
Absolutely, and I love making videos too. It's one of the more fun things I get to do in my job. I don't know why I like it so much, but it's exciting.
Because you're a movie star.
There you go. I wish sometimes.
That's your inner movie star coming out.
There you go. That's it.
All right, Marc, thank you very much. This has been very insightful. Is there anything I missed?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if you've missed anything. There's always so much to talk about. But, if anybody tuning in wants a good tip, a couple of actionable pieces to start to see if you could notice something different when it comes to a more mind-body approach to how you eat and how you do food and nutrition. And I don't care what your eating concern is. If you're trying to learn how to better control or manage your appetite, if you want to go for weight loss, if you find yourself overeating, emotionally eating, or binge eating, or if you find yourself heavy and tired and fatigued after meals, this is a great strategy I'm about to give you. And that is learn how to become a slow, relaxed eater. So if you're a fast or a moderate eater, that's a habit. Being a fast eater.
Yes.
I want you to slowly train yourself to be a slow eater. If you're eating your breakfast in 2 minutes and your lunch in 5 minutes and your dinner in 7 minutes, I want you to try to double it. And it doesn't mean you have to sit there being bored out of your mind. It means you engage yourself, you enjoy the food, you relax, you pretend you're in France sitting in a cafe. You eat with people that you enjoy. You create a nourishing eating experience, and you slow down and you taste the food and you savor it, because what you're doing is you're giving the body the physiologic requirements that most people don't realize, that the body has a physiologic requirement for pleasure. It has a physiologic requirement for taste, for aroma. And those needs need to be satisfied. When they're not, we'll be driven to eat more. So if you eat fast, if you don't notice your food, if you're multitasking when you eat, and then you have a big meal, your belly feels full and your mouth feels hungry, that's why. Your belly knows, oh my God, I'm distended, too much food, but your brain says, I don't remember eating, I don't remember tasting, I don't remember pleasure, hungry. So your brain drives you to eat more food. You're actually not a willpower weakling. You're activating a wise circuitry in the brain when the brain thinks it didn't eat.
Yeah.
So as you slow down, as you make contact with your meal, and you begin to eat like a human who loves and enjoys food, believe it or not, that will be a powerful metabolic enhancer. You will be putting your body in parasympathetic nervous system dominance, which is the optimum state of digestion, assimilation, natural appetite regulation, and day in, day out calorie burning. That's kind of what I wanted to share in closing, Glenn.
That is fantastic. That's a great step. That's one of the things I tell my clients who, most of them do eat too fast. They gulp it and they don't taste their food. I recommend using baby utensils, forks or spoons, or chopsticks. One of the things I also tell them is to not swallow until all of their food is pulverized, that it's a fine paste. And I ask them, do you like food? And so far, nobody has ever said no. Everybody loves the taste of food. And I said, so let's chew it and keep it in our mouths longer and taste it and savor it like you said, and you will enjoy it a lot more rather than just swallowing it like, so many people do.
Bingo. You got it.
All right, Marc. Well, it has certainly been eye-opening, a pleasure speaking with you. I'd love to have you on the show again someday. I'm going to have links to your site, your new book, in my show notes page under episode 84 on the Live Fit podcast. Do you have any parting shots for us?
My parting shot is I would love for you all to continue to be nutritional explorers. Just be a scientist of your own body and don't worry about the perfect diet and the perfect system. Just make it an ongoing exploration because we change, the body changes, information changes. So enjoy your nutritional journey.
I love it. I think I'm going to do that as soon as I hang up with you.
Good for you.
All right, Mark, you have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Thanks for doing this. Great job.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Live Fit Podcast. Please subscribe and share with someone you care about. Read show notes, articles, resources, and learn more about our weight management programs at livefitpodcast.com. Once again, thanks for listening, and always remember to live fit.